Vin, you ready to do the next video review on the year 1970?
Oh, is that today?
Well, yeah. Corvettes to the left of me, Jaguars to the right, and here I am, stuck in the middle with you. As you may know by now, this review will cover what we believe to be the single greatest year of the American muscle car era, 1970. 1970 and the decade that followed was a time of great change, both in the U.S. and around the globe. Paul McCartney announced the Beatles had disbanded. The Concorde made its first supersonic flight. A gallon of milk was $1.15, and a gallon of gas was a mere 39 cents. The name of the game in Detroit was how many cubic inches can you stuff into an engine compartment.
How come you're not wearing your 70s clothes?
Turns out I don't own anything that ugly. As American automakers pushed the limit on what could be defined as a production car, the Madison Avenue leg of the industry was spending their time trying to target a booming youth market with a buying power that hadn't previously existed. Few knew at the time what was looming on the horizon and just how short-lived this time of American muscle would be. Strict environmental standards, a looming gas crisis, and increased pressure from insurance companies would soon bring an end to this glorious time of American muscle. While we acknowledge there's many great cars from 1970, this review will focus on 3 stars from our collection: the Boss 429 Mustang, Chevrolet's Chevelle LS6, and the Plymouth Superbird 440. A car so bad it was banned by NASCAR after only 1 year.
Far out, man.
We're also going to see how many slang terms from this time period we can fit into this review. That's one.
Beep, beep. The Boss 429 was only produced for 2 years. To compete with the Mopar Hemi engine in NASCAR, Ford launched the Boss 429 in 1969. It was built as a limited production Mustang fastback to meet the NASCAR-required homologation requirement of 500 units. The Boss became the ultimate Mustang. Ford prepared the 429 engine for inclusion into NASCAR's Grand National Division. Built as a full-on race engine, power was legally rated to 375 horsepower, although with a few modifications up to 600 horsepower was possible. The engine should have gone into larger fairlanes, but Ford wanted to give the Mustang a performance boost, especially since Camaro was coming out with an all-aluminum 427 Z01 option, and Plymouth would soon put its 70 Cuda on the road with a 426 Hemi. The engine was too large to fit into a standard Mustang body. Carcraft was hired to modify the front end of the car to accommodate the bigger motor. They took a 428 Mark I and changed the inner fenders, widened the shock towers by 2 inches to make additional space. A smaller brake booster was fitted, and air conditioning wasn't offered. All Boss 429s had a special serial number on the driver's side door jamb, starting with KK, which stood for Carcraft.
When you and your crew are out on Saturday night rolling down the main drag, you want to make sure you call shotgun, because the back seat in the Boss 429 Mustang's a real bummer, man. Beep, beep. You know, it would be great if we had a radio from 1970 for this review.
You mean like an 8-track?
Yeah, an 8-track. Let me go ask Cindy in accounting. Cindy's a whiz with numbers and knows all kinds of ways to save money, like abbreviating the sign for the accounting department. Cindy, you busy?
Yes, I am.
Great. I got a question for
No.
you. You think we could get a radio for the video review that we're working on?
For you? No.
Like maybe an 8-track or something?
No.
Well, I'll try back later at a better time, like in October.
No.
So how'd it go in accounting?
Better than I thought.
So we're going to get an 8-track?
No.
Well, that's a drag.
Beep, beep.
You bought all these 8-tracks? Did you really think Cindy was going to buy you an 8-track tape player?
Maybe.
Is it possible you're not as charming as you think you are?
I guess it's possible. Let's just continue with the review.
Okay. Considered to be the ultimate muscle car of the golden age, the LS6 Chevelle was the biggest brute on the streets in its day. With an advertised 450 horsepower, the LS6 was the most powerful engine ever put into a Chevy until the LS7 came out in the 2006 Corvette Z06. In the hierarchy of the street, circa 1970, there were the big dogs and then there was everybody else. The name of the game was horsepower. The more grunt the better, and the more grunt meant more cubic inches and more horsepower. The old standard that there's no replacement for displacement was never more true than in 1970, and sitting atop the muscle car food chain was Chevrolet's 454 LS6 Chevelle SS. Checking off the RPO Z15 option delivered a 450 horsepower, 454 cubic inch solid lifter behemoth that cranked out 500 foot-pounds of torque and bludgeoned any challenges for its title as king of the streets. Buying an LS6 Chevelle required the customer to purchase mandatory options. The $503 Z51 SS454 package consisted of bright engine accents, dual exhaust with bright tips, black painted grille, wheel openings with moldings, power front disc brakes, special rear suspension, and F70 14 tires and 7-inch rims. The rear bumper had black insert, while up front, the SS got a groovy power bulge hood, which included cowl induction and vacuum-actuated hood scoop and functional hood pins. Other than the Corvette, a 460 horsepower option was available, but no records ever being produced. No production engine at the time ever had a higher factory horsepower rating.
Coming up next, the Plymouth Superbird. But first, we got to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more stuff. This commercial break brought to you by our elegant event space, the Thunderbird Ballroom at Newport Car Museum. Due to the current restrictions, we're somewhat limited in our ability to showcase the versatility and full capabilities of this wonderfully charming venue. So for your special event, you'll just have to imagine more people. Whether it's a cocktail party for a large group or a smaller sit-down dinner for a more intimate gathering, either way, the Thunderbird Ballroom, we can accommodate you. If it's live music you require, or maybe a DJ is more appropriate for your event. The Newport Car Museum's Thunderbird Ballroom, we can accommodate you. And whatever level of security your event may require, we can accommodate you. I'm sorry, sir, there's a private event.
But I work here.
Sir, I'm sorry, you're not on the guest list, please.
That's a blank sheet of paper.
It's a guest list, sir, and you're not on it. Please, sir, please. So when you're looking for that wonderfully charming venue to make lasting memories for your family and friends, keep us in mind. The Thunderbird Ballroom, we can accommodate you.
Does this scene really need a dishwasher?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Don't forget these.
Are those your dishes from home?
No.
In 1970, Plymouth introduced the Superbird. It was an effort to lure Richard Petty back from Ford racing. He had originally left Plymouth after a dismal year racing the Roadrunner. Plymouth Superbird was based on the Roadrunner. The Superbird's long metal nose cone was fitted to the front fenders and a lengthened hood lifted from the 1970 Dodge Coronet. A huge wing was added, and contrary to popular belief, it was not made high to clear the trunk opening. The engineers made it high so that the airflow over it was smooth, not turbulent. NASCAR homologation rules dictate for a vehicle to be raced, a certain number of production cars have to be made available to the general public. In 1970, the rule was changed to a formula based on the number of the brand's dealers. In the case of the Superbird, the number had to be built to satisfy those requirements was close to 2,000. All Superbirds had a vinyl top to hide the bodywork needed to fit the aerodynamic rear window. Richard Petty's car was the Hemi engine car. This Superbird is a 440 six-pack, which means it has 3 two-barrel carburetors. Richard Petty and the Superbird won 8 races in 1970, but the car was banned because of the speed they could attain, which was faster than the tire technology at the time. The Superbird was probably the most iconic and certainly the most outrageous car of 1970.
You know, I heard a rumor that a rival auto manufacturer was working on a car to compete with the Roadrunner, called the Coyote. But they soon abandoned the project once they realized the Coyote car would never catch the Roadrunner and likely spend most of its time driving through tunnels and into an oncoming train. Have you ever heard that rumor, Vin?
I'm glad I've never heard that, but it sounds legit.
Yeah, I thought so too. Well, thank you for watching and staying with us to the end of this review. We look forward to seeing you at the Newport Car Museum.
Can you dig it? Beep, beep.